Hey friends, here I am recording another QuickTime video for you so you get the best audio quality. Those of you who may have some suggestions about how to get the video quality up on my MacBook, let me know. I think it's like a 720 is sort of the max here, but I feel like I could up this. I feel like there's like a function that I can't seem to find. I just did a quick little Google search to figure it out, but I just felt like I just want to talk to my friends right now. I'll deal with the tech stuff later. So, always improving, always learning. And today I want to share a recent story time from a past life regression that I've done with Vivian. So those of you who are interested in past life regression, I've got quite the series on my YouTube channel. I think actually a lot of you have found me through my past life regression content. It's definitely something that I'm so interested in and I love to talk about. I love diving into this subject matter, even in my personal life, like with my friends. But yeah, past life regression. So I'll be leaving another playlist down below so you guys can definitely explore, maybe see my journey more with past life regression from the first one that I've done and onwards. And today I'm going to be sharing one that I had with Vivian this past week. So very much very fresh in my mind. And I've got Vivian's notes up from the session as well. So yeah, let's just go into it and see what we can learn from this experience and me sharing it with you. I think it also will be helpful in my personal integration. I love to share about my experiences. As you guys probably know, tuning into my channel, I love to just share sort of what I'm learning and how I process things. So yeah, this past week I had a past life regression with Vivian. The first couple times I did past life regression was actually with Vivian in person, Vivian Osal in her office in Toronto. So for those of you who are in Toronto who are interested, check out her website. You can do in-person sessions. But for me, actually, the Zoom sessions have been just as powerful, if not more. And I have a feeling that this is sort of because we naturally just feel more comfortable, more safe in our own environments. Right? And each of these times that I've taken past life regressions with Vivian over Zoom, I've taken them from my bedroom. I've just sort of laid out a yoga mat on the floor, put some incense, put some candles, just made it comfortable. Not lying in my bed because I didn't want to fall asleep, but I laid out a yoga mat on the floor so I could just really get into that shavasana, really just getting in tune with my soul and just opening up to the ride that is a regression. So the way that a past life regression works from the experience of being the client is you'll go into the session with a particular intention. And this could be to heal something that's showing up for you, or it could be questions that you had, or it could even be visiting past or previous lives where you felt a certain energy or a certain emotion that you would like to access more of in your regular life. So for example, if you were feeling low self-esteem and you wanted to feel into high self-esteem, or you wanted to feel into more confidence, for example, you can tell Vivian that and she can work that into how she regresses you. And you're also just setting that intention for your soul that that's what you want to go to. You want to go to a lifetime where you felt very confident in yourself and you want to remember what that feels like again. You want to remember what that feels like in your entire body. And that state of mind and any other lessons that might show up. And all the time when I've set intentions for past life regression, I've always gotten so much more from the experience than I even expect. I do think that past life regression is definitely one of the most healing modalities that I've ever dabbled in. And I love to dabble, I love to experiment, I love to explore. So past life regression, it just feels like this gift that keeps on giving. Because what I've found through it is like you have the experience and it's so cool just to see where your consciousness goes to in these states, to see what you remember, to see what you experience. But then what I mean by it's healing is that it's like this gift that keeps on giving. I find that yes, I come to a lot of awarenesses, I come to a lot of aha moments, and I come to a lot of like different healings in past life regression. But there's always this magic that happens afterwards in the integration of that, where a certain situation might occur again where I felt triggers in the past where I'm no longer triggered, or I have a new lens on it, or I've just given myself more permission to feel my emotions and not make them wrong or not try to change them and just be like, oh yeah, I'm just flowing through something, I'm just healing, I'm just on my soul's journey. So yeah, it's just the gift that keeps on giving, and the blessings keep unfolding. And I'm so curious for any of you out there, please comment below if you've ever done a past life regression, or if you've ever become aware of your past lives. This can also happen through deep meditation or different types of plant medicine or ceremonial experiences. And if you haven't, do you think you would ever dabble? Like, I feel like you're listening to this for a reason. There's perhaps some curiosity present. So yeah, definitely feel free to share in the comments. I would love to read more about that. And yeah, so today I'm going to be sharing about, like I said, my most recent past life regression that happened earlier this week. And my intention in going into this past life regression was just wherever my soul wanted to go. I had that set for my last one, which I shared with you guys, where I wound up in the Amazon. And it ended up just like healing a lot of things, tying a lot of loose ends up in my mind, and just allowed me to give myself more permission to step into the path that was presenting itself with Cambo. So today, again, or in the session that I'm sharing with you, is my intention was to go wherever my soul wants to go, whatever would be the highest service of my soul's evolution and my soul's journey. So lied there on my yoga mat. This is at 5 a.m. Because of the time difference. That's when I met with Vivian. She's in Eastern time. And I was just so excited for this, as always. And it was actually quite powerful because I was sort of like just out of my sleep state. I actually ended up having to like go run out and try to purchase electricity. That's the sort of thing in Bali where you pay as you go electricity, and you don't know how much electricity you have left until it's like out. I figured a new way to do this now. So I had like already been out on my motorbike that morning, so I was pretty awake. But Vivian, she just holds such an incredible space in getting you to feel relaxed and trusting, and just being able to let go of the ego. Because when she starts to put you under the hypnosis, what I find is that there's like layers of the ego that you basically just have to like keep pushing out, and keep just leaning into, or like sinking into. It feels like a sinking feeling into your soul. And that allows for things to open up. So I was lying there, I was really sinking into the journey, and Vivian, like I said, she just does an incredible job of putting you under. And when I dropped in to the life, this was like a visual experience. It was, for me, it's shown up past life regression. Sometimes it's very visual. Sometimes it's more of an inner knowing and a body experience. This time for me, it was visuals paired with like an inner knowing. And that was like coming through. So when I dropped in, I was in Egypt, and I was I knew exactly where I was. I was in Egypt. I was in the desert, and it was dawn. So the sun was going to be coming up, and I knew that I was in the desert alone. I had walked out into the desert on purpose to be alone because I was trying to find solitude. I just really needed this space and time each day. It was very much present to me that going out into the desert each morning alone was something that was part of my morning routine, if you will, my ancient Egyptian morning routine. And Vivian asked me to look down at my feet and at what I was wearing, if I was male or female. And I was male, and I was looking down, and I had these raggedy sort of like sandals on. They were brown, and then I was wearing white linen-ish looking clothing, but it was dirty. It was very clear to me that I was poor. I didn't have very much money. And Vivian asked like what I was doing out there, and I just said, I just came out here to be alone. I just wanted to be alone. And she asked how old I was. I was 26 years old. And what started to come to me then was that there was a woman in my life, a significant other, but she had just recently, sort of in the timeline of my life, passed away. And she died. She was the absolute love of my life. She died because she was coming to see me in the workspace. So I was working on building a type of temple. There was no pyramids, like it wasn't that sort of scene in Egypt. I don't know what the temple was called that I was building, but I know that it was for a pharaoh, someone royal. Like that was very much like the energy of it was like this was an intense project that was being worked on over many years that I was a part of, and it was for someone who was very, very wealthy. And there was a lot of us who were working on the site. I did have some close friends there. But my significant other, I don't know if we were actually married, but I was deeply, deeply in love with her. She had come to visit me in the workspace, and there was a collapse. And in that collapse, she was killed. And I was absolutely devastated. So this was in the past when I had dropped into my life. This was what had happened before. And my friends at the workspace thought that each time that I would walk out into the desert in the morning, they didn't know if I was going to come back. They were definitely concerned for me because of how, I guess, depressed or how much suffering I was experiencing. The way that I felt this in my body was an intense heaviness. I was very much searching for the meaning of life. Like, I just couldn't understand why God, source, the universe would take away the one thing or this magical part of my life experience, because everything outside of that felt very hard, very heavy, very difficult. I was sort of a slave, I guess you could say. And so my life was full of manual labor. It was very clear to me that my body was in pain, that I was like sort of just suffering on all these different levels. And my love was this one beautiful, blissful part of my life. And then God, as the way that I looked at it, had taken her away. And I just struggled for meaning. And my life felt very heavy, like just so full of suffering. And basically a lot of struggle. And in my body with this heaviness, I felt like I was sort of transmuting it, as in I just needed to feel it to heal it for this previous version of myself on this other timeline, if you will. And what's interesting is that coming out of the dark night of the soul and being in my Saturn return life, and just the current events of planet Earth these days, is that life has felt heavy. It has felt like a lot. It has been a consistent search for deeper meaning and deeper understanding, for me personally anyways, through this Saturn return. And a lot of heaviness, a lot of reliving and re-experiencing and feeling out my childhood, the things that I suppressed, the pain, the trauma, and that in itself, feeling to heal that. And any of you out there who are presently navigating the Saturn return or just healing your childhoods, like, it just keeps coming. Sometimes it feels like, and it feels like you wonder if you'll ever get through. But I promise you, I'm coming out the other side of, the Saturn return will be over in April. Yay. But it does get lighter, right? But there are times that I just want to validate that it feels extremely heavy when you're just processing a lot of deep emotions, like again and again and again, and dark night of the soul vibes, right? And so I feel like when I was transmuting these emotions for this previous version of myself, I was actually helping Zoey out in this life in transmuting and transforming some of those deeper, denser energies that might have just been remembered by the soul. So I was just sort of like acknowledging this with Vivian, and she asked me sort of like what my thinking process was in this life, or what I was sort of experiencing. And I felt like God had taken my love away. God, universe, source, interchangeably, had taken my love away to teach me a lesson, because when I was younger, I used to steal food to support my family. So I was like a very honorable person. Like I said, I had good friends. I seemed to be like a little bit shy and things like that. I didn't really have a large circle, kept to myself a lot. I wasn't like mean or anything like that. I just felt like I was just struggling to understand life, and I was always wanted to be alone, a very introverted soul. But I felt very guilty, and I felt like Source was punishing me by taking my love away, by taking that one thing that really added a flare of magic into my life, was because I used to steal from markets or from other people. I used to steal food to support my family. So I had siblings and mother and father. I don't feel like my father was in the picture. It was more of like supporting my mother and my siblings. I was like the oldest. And so I was out there like basically stealing, like kind of like Aladdin. Like that's sort of like the vibe where I was like in the marketplace, just sort of marketplace or just like from other people type of scenario. That's what I was remembering anyways. And so I felt a lot of guilt. I felt a lot of shame, and I felt like this was karma. And I feel like that was one of the biggest lessons from this life. And what I came to learn when I crossed over was that I had some karmic debt to pay in this life. And that's why I experienced the pain and the suffering that I did. So in this life, like this regression experience seemed to go by quite quickly. And rather than Vivian prompting me to go to the next significant point in my life, which is how I've experienced it previously, was that I just sort of went to my death. Like I just was like, my life was sort of just advancing, and I was like witnessing and processing and transmuting the energies that I needed to feel along the way. And I went to my death. And what was so fascinating was that I actually died. So I was 31 when I died, and that was actually very old. So I sort of had this awareness that like I lived a very long life for that period in time. Like 31 seemed to be like on the longer end, and that was probably because of accidents and just quality of life, and perhaps not having resources, being poor or living in that type of community. And yeah, so I fast forwarded to my death. I was 31, and I actually died in the exact same spot as my love. I got crushed by a pillar in like basically the exact same spot that she died years before. So that was pretty interesting. And I just sort of witnessed this, and I was like leaving my body, and I felt the light. I felt like the ease, and I felt just like almost like a like a sigh, like I could sort of just say goodbye to this heaviness. And when I was coming into the light, into the other side, I was met by my love, this person who I recognized from that lifetime, and she sort of like welcomed me into the other side. And what's interesting is that in past life regression experiences that I've had, anyone who sort of crosses my path, Vivian will ask, like, do you recognize this person from your life? And like, I didn't. It sort of feels like a soul fingerprint. It sort of feels like a soul recognition that's happening. And I felt like she looked like one of my friends, and that's why I wanted to say it was her, but I don't actually feel like it was her, because there wasn't this like full inner resonance as I've had previously when I've seen people from past lives. So I'm not sure who exactly she was, and maybe I've yet to meet her in this life. Maybe she'll be a friend. Maybe she'll be one of my children one day, or maybe she'll be my significant other. Like, this is what I love about past life regression, is you get so present to the fact that we are all souls, and we come in these different like soul groups and soul families, and we're all just like different actors for each other in this game, in this play, in this theater that is life. And it's very, I don't know, just adds sort of like a lighthearted energy to life, experiencing the past life regression. So I was met by her on the other side, and then I came over, and I was channeling just messages from the other side about my life. And Vivian prompts you to ask what the lessons were in that lifetime. And so the lessons here, I'm just pulling up the notes that she provided for me. But from what I remember is that, like, I learned a lot about karma. This was a big opportunity for me to pay back some karmic debt and really understand that we choose what we experience in this life. Like, that was very much present to me, that even though this life was full of suffering and tragedy, literally like a tragic love story, was that I fully chose that. I fully chose my soul to go in and do a lot of deep work in that lifetime and pay some debt. I also had the lesson about there was a lot of lesson about sharing. And even though I was stealing, there was something like powerful that I learned about just like doing things from like lessons learned from doing things that weren't, let's say, ethical or right, but just like I was so focused on prioritizing the deep connection with my family and keeping people alive that I was willing to go to the ends for my family's survival. So that was powerful. And then I witnessed a lot of my strength in this lifetime: physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength. What the note says here is that I recalled that this lifetime I learned strength even when I didn't feel strong. And so I feel like, you know, a lot of this, like the reason why my soul chose to go back to this life when it did was because the past few years of my life have been the hardest few years of my life. And it's not like, what's interesting through healing my past is that my childhood was probably like the hardest, as in like the most traumatic chapter of my life. But it's through healing it and having the external reality mirror back scenarios or triggers to me in order to do that healing, that's felt a lot more challenging because it sort of felt a bit relentless. Whereas like as a child, I suppressed all of this, and so like now I'm having to like relive it, let these emotions, let this trauma out of the body, and that feels more difficult than actually being the child sort of suppressing and being in survival mode. So it's quite interesting that I feel like learning this lesson of strength, even when I didn't feel strong, has been just very sort of complementary to what I've really learned about myself in these past few years, is that I've uncovered and witnessed a new level of inner strength and resiliency within myself that, yeah, I knew it was there, but it's like it keeps going deeper, as in you're always so much stronger than you think you are. You're always so much more powerful than you think you are. And yeah, it was just really, really beautiful. And there's a couple other like lessons here, and I do feel like I'm still integrating. Like I said, past life regression is the gift that keeps on giving. But yeah, another lesson here is that love is real, and I needed to open my heart. And in this life specifically, even though my life was full of like a lot of suffering and like slavery, if you will, and just like a lot of labor and like a manual labor filled life, it was very heavy, but I was still able to open my heart. And I also feel like that was a message that I needed to receive right now, is that even though this healing journey the past few years has felt quite difficult, quite challenging at times, and I haven't felt emotionally available to date or open my heart up to someone else, is that it was almost like this little wink or this nudge from my soul that, you know, like your heart will remember when you come across the person or like the next person that you're supposed to date or go into partnership with. Your heart will remember. It's like a remembrance of the heart, and it will find you in this lifetime, and you've known this person before, and you'll be able to connect with that. So that was really beautiful, and I think like that was also just another powerful message to share with all of you out there, is that you're stronger than you think you are always, and the universe never serves you up anything that you can't handle or you can't move through. And it's in these moments that are calling for us to really dig into the reserves that are our strength, is that we actually get to witness how powerful we are as human beings, and how worthy we are of love. And yeah, just also that little message of your heart will remember. Your heart will remember who you chose to partner with in this life or to experience in a romantic capacity. So yeah, that was beautiful for me, because, you know, coming into my 30s, I have been single for quite some time. Yeah. And hopefully in the future, maybe in this next decade, I'll experience what it's like to be in a conscious relationship. So anyways, this is my past life regression from ancient Egypt, And I'll be sure to leave Vivian's details down below. She's not just a past life regressionist. She reads the Akashic records. She does Reiki. She's got so much abundant gifts to share with all of you guys. So yeah, definitely, if you feel the call, I say pursue it. And thanks for listening, guys. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.